I was thinking about this question recently, and it seems simple, but it's really not.
Hmm.
Anxiety. Are we just talking more about it, or is something fundamentally different going on for women? Because the numbers, they really are quite striking. Women are almost twice as likely as men to have anxiety disorders.
Hmm.
Like 23.4% of women every year, compared to maybe 14.3% of men. And lifetime, it's huge. 1 in 3 women versus 1 in 5 men.
Those are significant figures,
Right.
really significant.
But here's the really fascinating part, the puzzle we want to dig into today. This difference, it doesn't exist in childhood.
No, it doesn't.
Boys and girls, similar anxiety levels.
Uh-huh.
Then puberty hits, and bam, for girls, it just skyrockets. So what's actually happening?
Yeah, what's the driver there?
Exactly. So our mission in this deep dive is really to explore the science behind why anxiety seems to hit women harder. We'll look at, data, neuroscience, hormones, personal stories too. It's about validating something a lot of women feel, I think, but maybe haven't had the words or the science to back it up.
And that timing, right at puberty, it's so key. That's not just a coincidence. It's the starting point, really, for this complex mix of hormones kicking in, brain changes, and societal stuff all starting to interact. It really sets the stage for how anxiety can play out across a woman's life. That the whole landscape just shifts then.
Okay, so let's start unpacking that. Let's dive into what I've been thinking of as the hormonal symphony.
Yeah.
Because every month, women have these big swings in hormones.
Right. Estrogen, progesterone.
Exactly. They're rising, falling like waves.
Yeah.
And it's not just about periods, is it? It affects mood, memory, how you handle stress.
Yeah.
So how do these internal waves actually drive anxiety? Is it really that chemical?
Oh, absolutely. It's a very real chemical, Dan. Think about estrogen. People often call it the feel-good hormone, right? It
Yeah.
helps with serotonin, emotional balance. So when estrogen levels dip, especially, right before menstruation, that's when many women feel that spike. More anxiety, more irritability, just feeling overwhelmed.
Okay, that makes sense. What about progesterone?
Well, progesterone can be calming, sort of, but the balance is crucial. When it's out of whack, it can be destabilizing, particularly in the second half of the cycle, the luteal phase. Progesterone is rising, but estrogen is often falling. That combination, it can make women much more prone to mood swings, feeling emotionally sensitive.
And this isn't just like, oh, she's being hormonal in that dismissive way people sometimes talk.
No, absolutely not. It's a genuine neurochemical reality. It's physiology. It's something tangible happening in the body and brain. And like you said, it's not just the monthly cycle either. Think about the major life stages. Puberty, obviously, where it starts. But then pregnancy, postpartum, perimenopause, menopause.
All times of major hormonal shifts.
Exactly. Huge hormonal turbulence. And guess what? There are also times when anxiety often flares up or appears for the first time. It just shows how deeply connected these biological rhythms are to mental health right through life.
There was that story about Jennifer the lawyer. That really struck me.
Oh yeah, that was powerful. She started tracking her cycle, really paying attention.
And she rescheduled high-stress meetings based on her hormones.
She did. She aimed for her high estrogen weeks for the really tough stuff. And she said her panic attacks dropped by, what was it, 70%?
70%. Wow. So she basically worked with her body's rhythm instead of fighting it. That's incredible insight.
It really is, using that self-knowledge strategically.
Okay, so hormones are a huge piece. Now, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about the brain itself. You hear this phrase, the female brain is wired for connection. What does that actually mean in terms of brain structure, and how might it link to anxiety?
Well, it's fascinating stuff coming out of MRI studies. We see that women generally have more connections between the left and right hemispheres of the brain, more crosstalk.
Okay, and what does that do?
It seems to support things like emotional intelligence, empathy, social intuition, really valuable strengths. But the flip side is that same wiring can sometimes lead to, well, overthinking, especially under stress, ruminating more.
Ah, okay. So a strength can become a vulnerability depending on the context.
Precisely. And then there's the amygdala. That's the brain's fear center, its alarm system.
Right.
Research suggests it tends to be more reactive in women,
More reactive.
meaning potentially stronger emotional responses to things perceived as threats. It also means negative events might get encoded more vividly into memory, and it might take longer to calm down after a stressful event.
So the emotional echo lasts longer, maybe?
That's a good way to think about it. It's not just the initial reaction, but the recovery time, too.
Does that mean women might need different kinds of calming strategies or maybe benefit more from them?
That's a really interesting point. It could mean that strategies focusing on emotional regulation, on calming the nervous system, might be particularly important or effective. It highlights the need for tailored approaches. And add to that, women also tend to have larger hippocampi. That's the memory center of the brain.
Larger memory centers.
So emotional memories can feel incredibly real, very immediate when recalled. It's less like looking at an old photo and more like stepping back into the moment.
Wow. Like that high-definition replay you mentioned, not a faded snapshot.
Exactly. The feeling, the intensity, it can all come flooding back.
That sounds exhausting. So, okay, these brain differences, they clearly help with things like caregiving, communication, intuition,
Hmm.
great skills. But it does sound like they also create this vulnerability to anxiety, especially when things get emotionally intense.
It's definitely a double-edged sword, as you said. Strengths in one area can correlate with vulnerabilities in another.
All right, so we have the hormonal fluctuations, we have the brain wiring, but biology isn't the whole picture, is it? There's this whole layer of societal pressure, this like invisible load that women carry.
Absolutely critical piece. Biology doesn't happen in a vacuum.
So what kinds of pressures are we talking about? What does that look like day to day?
Think about it from early on. Girls are often socialized, even subtly rewarded, for being helpful, polite, tuned into others' emotions.
Right, the good girl thing.
Exactly. And those expectations don't just vanish in adulthood. Women are often expected to juggle careers, primary caregiving, maintaining social ties, managing the household, meeting beauty standards, and do it all seemingly effortlessly with grace.
That idea of grace under pressure is a lot.
It's immense. Then there's the mental load.
Yes, the constant tracking.
The cognitive labor, right. Remembering the appointments, the birthdays, school forms, what needs buying, who needs calling, keeping the peace. It's this nonstop background hum of stress. Not heavy lifting maybe, but mentally draining.
That constant hum. It makes sense that would contribute to anxiety. But is there a risk here, talking about these pressures, that we accidentally frame women just as victims? Does it take away agency?
That's a really important distinction to make. Understanding the pressures isn't about assigning victimhood. It's about recognizing the context. It's about seeing the specific hurdles so you can develop strategies to navigate them. Knowledge is power, not passivity. And tied into this is what some call perfectionist socialization, meaning many women internalize these incredibly high standards, feeling like they have to be exceptional at everything, work, home, appearance, relationships, just to feel enough.
And social media probably pours gasoline on that fire.
Absolutely. Those curated highlight reels of seemingly perfect lives, they create this constant, often subconscious comparison loop. Am I doing enough? Am I good enough?
Yeah.
And the result, it can be this culture of chronic self-comparison, self-doubt, and honestly, burnout. It's a pressure cooker, and it definitely fuels anxiety.
So when you put it all together, the hormones fluctuating, the brain wired for emotional detail and memory, and then pile on these relentless social expectations, it really does sound like, well, the perfect storm for anxiety in women.
That's exactly what researchers are starting to call it, the convergence of these factors.
Can we paint a picture? Like, what does that storm feel like for someone listening? Maybe a woman wakes up, she's in that luteal phase, already feeling a bit raw emotionally.
Right, hormonally vulnerable.
She checks her phone. Instantly, it's work emails, maybe a demanding text. Then she scrolls Instagram.
And sees those perfect images.
Yeah, and her brain, already primed for emotion and maybe rumination, just starts racing. Worst case scenarios at work, self-criticism about how she looks or what she hasn't done, and it's not even 8 a.m.
That's a very real scenario for many women.
And the key thing, the validation here, is that this isn't weakness. It's not someone overreacting. It's a predictable outcome, almost, of biology meeting environment.
Exactly. It's the system under load. Multiple overlapping stressors hitting at once.
Which leads to thinking about treatment. If the causes are complex like this, maybe traditional anxiety treatments don't always land the same way for women.
That's a really important consideration. Things like medication or therapy are incredibly valuable, of course, but their effectiveness might fluctuate depending on, say, hormonal cycles. Or they might need to be paired with strategies that address the specific ways the female brain processes stress or tools to manage that societal pressure piece. It's not always one size fits all.
Makes sense.
But here's where we get to the hope, the practical wisdom part, because understanding why this happens, that's the first huge step towards managing it better, knowing what you're working with.
Okay, so what are some actionable things people can do? based on everything we've discussed?
Okay, first, track your cycle. Seriously. Log your moods, energy, anxiety.
Like Jennifer the lawyer did.
Exactly. It helps you anticipate your needs. Maybe you schedule fewer demanding things during your luteal phase, or build in more self-care then. Knowledge gives you options.
Okay, tracking. What else?
Second, honor your brain's design, that tendency towards detail, connection, maybe even overthinking. Instead of fighting it, try to channel it.
Yeah.
Journaling is great. Talking things through with someone you trust. Making conscious time just to process experiences rather than letting them just swirl around. Use that wiring strategically.
Okay, use the overthinking for productive processing. Got it.
Third, challenge the inner critic. That voice telling you you're not good enough, you need to be perfect. Pause when you hear it. Ask yourself, whose voice is this, really?
Is it mine or something I absorbed?
Precisely. Try replacing that judgment with curiosity. Okay, I'm feeling anxious about this presentation. Why? Get curious instead of critical. Be compassionate with yourself.
I like that. Curiosity over criticism. Number 4.
Fourth, name it to tame it. Remember the example. Acknowledge the feeling, okay, this is anxiety, or even this is my amygdala firing, or this feels hormonal.
Why does naming it help?
It creates a little bit of distance. It reminds you that you are not the anxiety, you are the person experiencing the anxiety. It shifts you from being overwhelmed by it to observing it. Gives you a bit more control.
Right. Name it to tame it. Okay, and finally.
Finally, redefine productivity, especially for women carrying that mental load and facing perfectionism. Success isn't just about ticking off tasks.
What is it then?
It includes knowing when to rest, when to hit pause, when to say no. True productivity includes protecting your well-being. It's not separate. It's foundational. Rest is productive. Saying no is productive.
That's a powerful reframe. So the big message here, for anyone listening who's felt this, if you've ever felt like anxiety just hits you harder or differently than maybe the men in your life.
We're not imagining it.
You're not too sensitive. You're not broken. You're navigating a complex reality, biological and social, that often isn't fully acknowledged. But the science is catching up, like we've talked about today.
Right.
And knowing this, understanding the why, that really is empowering, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And maybe the final thought to carry forward is this. Making peace with anxiety, learning to manage it, it doesn't come from ignoring it or just pushing through.
Yeah.
It comes from honoring this incredible complex system, your hormones, your brain, your experiences, learning to work with that system, not against it.
Working with it.
Yeah, because your anxiety, it doesn't define who you are. It's part of your story, sure. But with understanding, with self-compassion, and with the right tools, many of which we talked about, you really can write a new chapter. One where your mind, your amazing female brain, becomes a source of strength, not suffering.